Hey, welcome back, fellow business owners. I'm Alex Glassy, business coach, business prof, and guy who tries to entertain and enlighten you on the world's most boring topics. So, welcome back, and let's get into number two of how any business, how your business can transform its cash flow. By the way, if you haven't watched part one yet, maybe go and find it. It helps to set the stage and is a real nice introduction to the topic. So today we're going to talk about how to unlock your business's potential. So many business owners, in particular in the first year or two, they're grinding it out. Super stressful. You've always got one eye on your bank account, one eye on payroll, one eye on those mounting sets of bills from your suppliers, don't you? It's tough. And it can be frustrating because you know that if you just had a little bit more money, you could do so many more good things with it, right? All right, so let's talk about how to find those pockets in your business, just like Sam did, and unlock that cash so that we can start to maximize our business's potential. So just as a reminder, a lot of numbers. This is why if you haven't watched the first video, you should go back and watch it. Everyone who's already watched that is totally familiar with these numbers, right? So just as a reminder, back to the income statement from first year, absolutely identical for both Pat and Sam, all the way down to the bottom, except for the very last line where we saw that Pat had almost $11,000 less cash than Sam. Now Sam had none, but Pat was in the hole by $11,000, and we're going to talk about what that feels like as well. So, in order for us to explore where that $11,000 went to, we need to take a look at the balance sheet, which is the second of the three financial statements. So, again, Pat on the left, Sam on the right, and let's get into it. Okay, so on a balance sheet at the very top, we see the cash line. And then right underneath that, we see something called AR, or accounts receivable. This is all the money that your customers owe you. And what Pat has done has allowed his customers not to pay Pat for, on average, 30 days. So you can see that there's $8,219 that Pat doesn't have in his business, but is instead still sitting in the bank accounts of his customers. And here's another metric that helps us to understand how good or how bad our accounts receivable situation is, other than the dollar value of it. And that's something called AR days. And AR days is a simple calculation. I won't go into it now. Simple calculation. And it tells us, on average, how long is it taking our customers to pay us from the end of the month. And so on average, Pat's customers are paying 30 days. And you can see that Sam has got an AR days of 0. So let's take a look at an image to help us understand kind of pictorially what's going on. So let's just take 2 months. So here's the first month, let's call it September. And Pat is doing what most of us do, right? Doing all the work, delivering the value to his customers throughout the month. And then at the end of the month, sending out an invoice. And then 30 days later, getting paid. That's what AR 30 days means. And what Sam has done started off the same, done all the work through the month, but then invoiced and then immediately gotten paid. So how has Sam done this? Well, there's a number of ways of doing it. What Sam's maybe done is just added a line into the sales agreement that says, hey, when I send the invoice, I'm going to get paid right then and there, and then has taken the customer's credit card, let's say, and knows that has got permission from the customer ahead of time just to run that credit card through as soon as the work has been delivered, and has now got an AR days of 0. Now that seems optimal if you could get it down to that. But the fact of the matter is that some businesses are able to get even better. But here's the first point here. Sam has made an $8,219 difference, right? So this is where Pat's got $8,219 in the hands of his customers. What Sam has done is move that up to here. Now, it doesn't show up in cash. Right? It doesn't show up in cash, but it will show. You'll see where it shows up in just a minute. But could Sam do even better? Could we do even better? Well, it turns out that you might be able to do better. And that is, if you could get the customer to pay earlier, in other words, pay at the time that they place the order, let's say, then you could end up getting even an additional 30 days worth of cash or 7 days worth of cash, depending on how long it takes you to turn around that particular order, right? So that's what's happening so often in so many businesses now, is that you're paying up front. Why? Because it means that they've got the money. Their cash flow has significantly improved. If you could improve the cash, get the cash an additional 30 days, not just get it at the end of the month when you invoice, but get it at the beginning of the month, that would put an additional $8,219 into that business, right? So if your accounts receivable is currently sitting at 30 days late, and you're actually able to get it down to zero and then get it even a month earlier, you would double the amount of cash. You would double that. You take the accounts receivable number, multiply it by 2, and that would put that much cash into your bank account. Okay, and we'll see why that didn't happen in Sam's case in just a minute. Let's get on to the next piece on the balance sheet. Inventory. So they're making t-shirts, and so what Pat is doing what so many of us do, paying for lots of stuff up front, right? Paying for all the stuff that he needs, and then using that stuff up over the month, and that's why it's 30 days worth of inventory, right? The amount of inventory on hand that Pat uses to process stuff. He's got 30 days worth of inventory on hand. Sam has only got 7 days, and you can see that that's dramatically less. So what Sam does is this. Sam pays for less stuff, uses it up, pays more, gets another delivery, right? Uses that up over the week, gets another payment, uses it, right? So what Sam is doing is has accelerated the cycle, shrunk that cycle, and in so doing, reduced the amount of inventory that she needs on hand, and therefore reduce the amount of cash that's sitting there in inventory. All right, that makes sense? Now, pretty good, can see the difference, but that would still mean that Sam's got to figure out some way of paying for that $575. But Sam has done one extra thing I think is really smart. What Sam has done is gone to the supplier and said, hey, you know what I want to do? I want you to deliver this stuff at the beginning of the week. I'm going to use it up, and then I'll pay for the stuff next week when you ship the next batch, right? I'll have a check here waiting for you. And so on, and in so doing, what Sam has done has increased accounts payable, the amount of money that Sam owes to her suppliers. And you can see that Pat hasn't done that. Pat's accounts payable is 0. Whenever Pat gets an invoice, Pat pays it immediately. What Sam is doing now is gone back to the supplier, and I think Sam's got a pretty good story to tell, because first of all, it's not trying to get and finance $2,500 for 30 days. What Sam is doing is saying it's only $575, and it's only for 7 days. So it's less money and it's less time. And Sam says to the supplier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that money to grow my business, which means I'm going to buy way more stuff from you, right, year over year. And so it's an easy decision for the supplier to say, okay, cool, yeah, it's not a lot of money, it's not a lot of time, and as long as that check's waiting there for me, I'm going to build that trust with my customer, and I'm going to then grow my business along with my customer, right? So you can see the changes. Cash hasn't changed. Big change in AR, reasonable change in inventory, some change in AP. Together, what's happened is it's a $10,685 difference in cash. Now, rather than having cash go up, it's just prevented Sam from going in the hole. What Pat's had to do, Pat's had to go and figure out a way to finance that. And I've been very generous here, is I've given Pat a line of credit. Now, why is that so generous? Well, because most businesses, first-time business owners in particular, but early businesses in the first year, there's no way that they're going to get a line of credit from the bank. First of all, Pat would have had to go and create a business plan and cash flow projections and all the rest of that good stuff. That's a lot of time and energy to go and meet with several banks, get rejected, finally find a bank that's willing to, take a bit of risk with Pat and give Pat that line of credit. But still, most banks would not just give the business the line of credit. They would ask you to sign personally, so you're still on the hook for it. Most businesses don't do this. What they do is they do other things. They will not pay themselves, right? How many business owners in the first year of business aren't paying themselves or are paying them way less? So you're still financing the business, right? But you're just financing it out of your own personal pocket, right? Or it's credit card debt that using your credit cards to go and deal with, pay the suppliers and keep current, right? Which is super expensive debt, and it's also you still owe it personally. You're still on the hook for it personally, right? Or even worse is that you get into the habit of not paying your government withholdings, your income, your sales taxes and your employee deductions and that type of stuff like that. Now you're really on the hook for that. And that is gut churning. It's super stressful way, and it gets in the way of us being able to really relax and properly run the business, because it takes being relaxed in order to really think through our business, right? Does that make sense? All right. Sum up chapter 1, year 1. Use the number of days of accounts receivable, of accounts payable, and of inventory to highlight pockets of where my hidden cash are. And then tighten the collection procedures, production, and payment cycles to start to unlock that cash, as you saw Sam did. Go negative on your accounts receivable. At least go to AR. Get it at least go to 0 on your AR days. Get it as low as possible. And even go negative, because you can go negative. And positive AP, right? To push out your AP, as much as you're comfortable doing, to get free financing from both your customers and your suppliers. Phew, all right. Thanks for watching. I hope you're starting to see how some of these things can affect and improve and unlock the cash in your own business and start to unlock the potential of your business. Next video, year 2, how to accelerate business growth. And by the way, if you think this story would help the business owners and entrepreneurs in your life, then go ahead and share or tweet or like or subscribe or email or even just talk to someone and let them know about these videos. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.